You're listening to Murder Not Murdering with Erin,
and Autumn,
a true crime podcast about murder and murdering.
but we are not murderers.
All right, everybody, we're back with Murder Not Murdering with Erin and
Autumn.
What's up, Autumn?
Actually, a lot is up, and we have a lot to tell everyone.
That's right. That's right. We've got news.
We do. We
have big news.
Big news. I mean, it's kind of, well, let's just get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Tika Lewis, the story of the little 2-year-old who went missing from the bowling alley back in 1999.
That you did last episode of us together.
Episode with us together. And the funny part is I had really put that off because it's just such a sad story and it's so local. And I'm like, it's been 26 years. I mean, if she's an adult, she probably has no idea who she is, and or unfortunately she could be passed away.
Yeah.
But something pulled me to cover it, and so I did. And then all of a sudden there was an update.
Yes.
And so the update is that someone called in a tip to the Tacoma Police Department, and they had a tip about Tika. Well, I'm not sure what the tip was because they haven't told anybody. But the unfortunate news is that they did dig at the area that the tip was called into, and nothing was found. So, I mean, I guess that's unfortunate and hopeful maybe that there's no body.
Yeah.
But, I mean, after all that time, it had been a cold case for so long that having any kind of movement at all was just such a weird timing.
It was. And we had just covered it, and it was on the news saying that her family was called in to the site, or they went to the site because they were tipped that it might be regarding Tika. So, it does mean that her name was out there again. And this is bringing attention back to this case. So hopefully we do get some answers, and we will keep you posted.
I know her mom. Oh my gosh, it broke my heart seeing her on the news again. She wants to know what happened.
Yeah, she deserves to know.
She deserves to know. And so that was wild. And then we also have another semi-update on another case we covered for Jennifer Kessie. And they said that they have a suspect.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think I saw that.
So I just saw it. It's brand new information, but they no longer consider this a cold case, that they have a suspect.
Wow, that's amazing.
They haven't named the suspect.
No, it's probably being investigated right now.
Yes, but they have a suspect. So that was
awesome.
Really good news as well.
Yeah. Big updates.
Huge updates.
And we're always watching. So if you see something on something we covered, please send us a DM, or, we'll try to keep you as updated as possible when we see these things.
I just can't believe, two in the same time frame. It was just such weird timing. Obviously, I'm hoping for the best news for Tika, that maybe someone took her and has been raising her and she's alive. But
yeah,
that's
the best possible option.
Best possible option. But what are the odds? I'll post crazy on Instagram the posts from the news stories and whatnot about Tika. I just thought we had to mention it on the podcast.
Oh, most definitely.
And our good friend Tim, he was so cute. He was like, wow, here's an update. And then he was like, murder not murdering for life.
Yeah, that's right. He did say that. I loved that.
He's a good friend.
You know, the good thing is though, is like I said earlier, is you just never know who you're going to reach. Not saying that this happened because of us, that this tip happened or
we're
anything.
not saying that, but we're not saying that.
What we are saying is that one of the things that we do is we like to cover some of our local cases and things. And as we are in Washington State, there are times when we're going to have cases that you never know who's listening, and you never know who's gonna go, oh, you know what? I do remember that, you know? So,
I mean, truthfully, this person, it's been 26 years and they called in enough. It was a credible enough tip that the police department
to
went
go and
digging.
dig. Yeah.
That doesn't just happen.
No, but again, now it's on the news. So hopefully this leads to more answers.
Absolutely. My fingers are so crossed.
Me too. So last week I was all by my lonesome.
But I loved your case. I loved listening to it. So many people have been messaging me like that was a wild and crazy ride. I'm like, yes. I mean, can you imagine somebody building a house to spy on or keep a woman trapped, basically?
A house within a house. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is when you listen to just that clip that we posted on our TikTok page, it sounds like he would have been the murderer.
100%.
But that's not how it played out. So if you haven't listened to that one, listen to my mini-sode on the last episode, which was of Minnie Wallace Walkup Ketchum. She has a lot of last names.
Mini-sode about Minnie.
Exactly. And she had so many names because she got married so many times.
And she kept them all. That was just like, drop a couple, lady.
Honestly. And then at the end, she had Keating. So, you know, she had all kinds of names.
All kinds of names.
I'm just going to say.
Reinventing herself.
Yeah. I was fascinated by that one. I had a lot of fun writing it. And it just kept on going. And I was here for it. It was interesting. It was a really interesting case.
Yeah. I felt like a fan when I was listening back to it.
Well, we've decided that Autumn is going to go first this time because I did the mini-sode on the last one. And so we're going to start off with Autumn this time.
Yes, we'll give Erin a little break.
Yeah, until, you know, Autumn's done talking and then it's me.
You got to pay attention.
I have a really, I'm getting back to my old-timey dismemberment stories.
Oh my God.
And I'm doing a hugely famous one, which is not my style, but it's a good one.
That's my style.
You'll for sure have heard of it, but it's worth repeating.
I can't wait. I love listening to ones I've heard before. Other people tell me about them.
Well, I think sometimes it's interesting to hear what other people's takes are on it. And you never know. You might find some new information. Well, no, you might find new information that you didn't know.
I agree. Like, obviously, I watch Unsolved Mysteries all day, all long. Even if I've seen the episode, I keep watching.
Well, it's just like white noise for you now.
It's true.
All right. Let's jump right in.
Okay. So this story is actually one that I thought Erin should cover. And then it was on my heart, so I decided to cover it and took it from her.
Oh, that's why you texted me and asked if I'd written that one.
Yes, because I originally was like, oh, Erin, you should cover. I saw it on Unsolved Mysteries.
No.
And no way. And I'm like, oh, this would be a story I think Erin would do well at. And then I said, F her, I'm doing it. Here I am.
That's how she talks about me, guys. That's what she says. F her.
F her. This is my time to shine.
Well, you better. Best of luck.
No pressure. No pressure at all.
That's self-made pressure.
Yes, but I think you'll be. You know what? Honestly, I think this story really needs to be heard. So, in all seriousness,
I didn't research it, so
no,
I don't even know what's going to happen.
No, so you don't know what's going to happen. No one, not very many people have heard about this one.
Well, I'm ready.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some people have, but it's worth repeating. Okay, so here I go. This is the disappearance and death of Wil Hendrick. Right now, a lot of people know the name Moscow, Idaho, because of the Idaho 4 case. That tragedy has been all over the news. It shocked the country, and it put this quiet college town into the spotlight in a way no one saw coming. But it's not the first time something terrible happened there. In 1999, another young person vanished from Moscow. His name was Wil Hendrick. He was 25, a theater student, a friend, a partner, and a son. Someone with plans, someone who was just getting started. And then, one night, he disappeared. There were whispers, theories, suspicious people, but no one was ever charged. And to this day, more than 2 decades later, his murder remains unsolved. This is Wil's story. It was Saturday night, January 9th, 1999. Wil and his partner, Jerry Schutz, were home working on a kitchen remodel. Wil mentioned there was a party that night at Katie Payne's apartment. Katie was a close friend. The party was just a few blocks away, at an apartment complex near the corner of C and Almond Streets in Moscow, Idaho. Jerry was tired. He didn't feel like going out, but Wil still wanted to make an appearance. So around midnight, he kissed Jerry goodbye and left. There were actually 2 parties going on that night. One upstairs, full of former high school athletes, and one downstairs, hosted by Katie and filled with their theater students like Wil. Throughout the night, Wil had been worried about another friend, Erin. She was going through something with her boyfriend, one of the guys from the 3rd floor party. Wil tried to intervene, but Katie had warned him not to get involved. Eventually, Erin left, and Wil, who was by then drunk, stayed behind. Katie said she stepped inside for just a moment to call Erin to make sure she got home okay. When she came back out, Wil was gone. His car was still parked outside, so she assumed maybe he'd gone upstairs. But the next morning, the car was gone too. At 11 a.m. the next morning, Jerry called Katie and asked, had she seen Wil? She hadn't. Nobody had. By Monday, 36 hours later, Wil still hadn't come home. Friends started searching the area, and they found his car downtown near 4th and Jackson.
Which was not normal for him to be there.
You know, it's not that it wasn't normal for him to be there, but the car was left at the house, and then in the morning it was gone, and they still didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
And he didn't go home.
That makes sense. And 36 hours is a long time to be missing.
It is. And him and his partner had been together for 5 years. It wasn't just some fling or a new romance.
Yeah.
They had an established relationship, and he wouldn't just not come home to him.
Totally.
What they didn't find was any sign of Wil. The car was unlocked. His work keys were on the dashboard, and his portfolio, something he never left behind, was sitting in the back seat. No blood, no hair, no obvious signs of the struggle, but something didn't sit right. Jerry believed Wil's car held clues. He noticed dried mud packed into the wheel wells, like someone had driven it through the country. He also noticed the seat was pushed way back, further than Wil would have needed. Whoever last drove that car was probably not Wil.
Yeah, no, totally not.
Now some people thought Wil had just left. His friend Kathy said he'd been feeling overwhelmed, that he talked about hitting the road, maybe disappearing to start over. She thought maybe he'd driven off to chase something new. But Jerry didn't buy that.
No, he wouldn't have left his partner of 5 years.
Of 5 years to go to a party and then just never come back after that.
And
the middle of a kitchen remodel.
That doesn't make sense.
No, they weren't
not
fighting.
In the middle of a kitchen remodel for
I
sure.
know. But I mean, honestly, they weren't fighting. There was he just wouldn't up and leave him. I mean, if he wanted to start over, I'm sure he meant like with his partner.
Yeah.
Maybe just not in that town.
Yeah.
Wil had plans, big ones. He was about to start his final semester. He had an audition the day after he vanished, and he was due to pick up a $6,000 financial aid check. None of that fit someone about to walk away from his life.
No way.
Katie, for her part, wondered if someone from the other party upstairs had something to do with it. And Jerry? Well, Jerry remembered something else. Something that happened a couple months before Wil disappeared. 2 months earlier, Jerry had fired a man from his shuttle service, a van driver. The two had gotten into an argument over a headlight, and the man ended it by hurling a gay slur. Jerry fired him on the spot.
Good.
That man went on to work as a long-haul truck driver. And here's the thing. On the morning Wil vanished, around 4:30 a.m., this same man checked out a refrigerated truck from a dispatch office in Lewiston, about 30 miles south of Moscow. That's the same window of time when people reported hearing a car, possibly Wil's, speeding off from the party. Jerry suspected this man, and later police would say that Wil actually knew him. He'd even stayed at the man's trailer a few times. The day after Wil disappeared, the man picked up and left for Florida and refused to speak to police. He was never charged. Which is so frustrating. I mean, even if he's innocent, why can't they speak to him?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
He refused to speak to the police, didn't give him any kind of clues. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, it's very suspect.
Very suspect. Wil's family and friends say that from the beginning, the investigation felt passive, slow, maybe even careless. Police didn't impound Wil's car until 3 days after it was found. That delay could have meant the loss of crucial evidence.
100%.
Investigators insist they took the case seriously, but those early days matter, and there's a feeling that time was wasted. Over the years, dozens of leads were followed. There were even rumors that a white supremacist and convicted murderer, Benjamin Matthew Williams, might have been involved. Williams had attended the same university and later killed a gay couple in California, but there was no evidence connecting him to Wil, and that lead fizzled out. There was also something strange that happened behind the scenes. At one point, Sheriff Wayne Roush, back when he was just a detective, tried to work on Wil's case, but his boss at the time, Sheriff Jeff Crouch, pulled him off. Then, in a bizarre move, Crouch locked the case file, password protected it, so Roush couldn't even access his own notes.
That's bizarre.
So weird. Years later, when Roush became sheriff himself, he reopened the case and said he was stunned at how little had been done. Some believe Crouch may have known something or was protecting someone, but there's never been any confirmation of that theory.
Do you think that maybe there's a prejudice?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is a small town in Idaho. And
Yeah.
this was back in 1999.
Yeah.
I mean, after we're done, I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
And I think you might think the same.
I'm sure I do.
For 3 years, Wil Hendrick was missing. Then, on September 7th, 2002, two hunters stumbled across something in a rural area of Latah County, just outside of Moscow. Wil's skull and jawbone. Despite an extensive search, no other remains were found.
Oh my God.
The cause of death couldn't be determined, but the manner was ruled a homicide. The area where Wil's remains were found was remote. Whoever left him there likely knew the terrain. It was someone familiar, someone local, someone Wil probably trusted. But that someone has never been identified.
Still?
Still.
Damn it.
I know. Wil's story is quiet. It's not widely known. There's no big media campaign, no documentaries, just this quiet ache that stretches back more than 2 decades. There are names that have floated around, rumors, stories that feel close to the truth but never quite land. Jerry still believes the answers are in that car. Wil's mother believes the truth may be tangled in people she once knew, people she once worked with. And then there's still that truck driver, still somewhere out there, still silent. If you know something about what happened to Wil Hendrick, it's not too late to say something. Someone out there knows the truth, and someone out there is still waiting to hear it. My sources were Unsolved Mysteries, Wiki Fandom, Coma 4 News, King 5 News, and Unsolved.com.
Oh, man.
I know. Honestly, and the interviews I've watched with his partner, Jerry, are honestly just so heartbreaking. He was saying, you know, he knew all along that Wil didn't just up and leave and start a new life. He had secretly hoped that might have been the case because that meant that
Of
Wil
course.
was still alive.
Yeah.
But he knew what they had and how he felt about Wil and how Wil felt about him. And
Yeah.
he knew he wouldn't leave him.
And
So
this-
when they found his body, I think that just made everything real, that, you know, he knew
Yeah.
what he knew. My theory, personally,
Mm-hmm.
is that Wil had pissed off some people on the upper floor party, the jocks that thought that he was not human to them. And I think they tried to teach him a lesson for interfering between the relationship with that Karen woman and the person upstairs, her boyfriend that she was fighting with.
Yeah. And then they would also be people that would be familiar with that remote area and
They're
everything.
locals. They've been
And
there.
if they have parents in high places or whatever, wouldn't be surprised if there was a cover up.
Yep. And
I'm
they're
sure there's
athletes.
theories. I'm sure there's
Yes.
theories.
And they're athletes, and you know how athletes are in a small town. They can do no wrong.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it was covered up. I
Yeah.
truly think it was covered up. And
Well,
I hope
and
that,
we've seen this before. I mean, even just with
Yes.
the Heclina case that I covered a couple episodes ago,
Mm-hmm.
where the police department was proved to be biased because
Yeah.
it was a gay person.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if in a small town in the 90s, especially,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not like they were going to be very open and accepting.
and forthcoming.
Mhm.
Yes, no,
So it got pushed on the back burner. It wasn't a
Yes.
priority.
it wasn't a
cetera.
priority.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
It's
too
so
bad.
sad. It's just so tragic. And, you know, with all the Idaho 4 case that's going on right now with Brian Koberger in Moscow, Idaho, I just was like, what are the odds that something like this is happening? It's such a small town.
Well, and no offense to people from Idaho, but right now there is a lot going on there with there's like a bar that is doing a hetero awesome day during Pride.
What?
Yeah, it was just on the news.
What is wrong with people?
But you know, it's not exactly a state known for being liberal,
No, it's definitely not.
or it's kind of like the wild wild west a little bit.
Yes, very conservative,
Mhm.
very
Off the grid.
ancient thinking. And
Yes.
yes. So, I mean, honestly, I just hope this case is solved. Will deserves justice. His partner deserves justice. His
Yeah.
family deserves justice. He was a person and he mattered.
The thing that's so bizarre is that the rest of his body was not found.
I mean, it had been 3 years, so
I mean,
animals could have taken it. And
but you'd still find something.
you would think.
You know what I mean? That's a whole ass body.
Yeah, I mean, what if we have like a Jeffrey Dahmer situation on our hands and he just didn't want the head?
God, I hope not.
That would be mortifying. But
I don't like any of that.
No, I don't either. But obviously people like that exist.
Sure,
no,
we don't know.
But yeah, so that was my case. Could you see why I thought you might want to cover that one?
Yeah, I could see why.
But I did it.
You sure did.
I'm superior. No, just kidding.
Lovely. Thank you.
I did it justice, right? Like
you did. You did a great job. You did a great job.
At the end of the day, what really matters is finding what happened to him.
Yes. I think it was hard to find information on that.
Yes.
So I abandoned it. But I'm glad you did it.
It was hard. It was hard finding
There was not very much. I was like, how do I make a full case out of this?
It was pretty hard. That's why it was kind of short. But
well, I'm always long-winded.
This is true. So I made time for you, my friend.
Thanks for making time for me.
Anytime, girl.
Yeah. Well, are you ready for mine?
Absolutely. Cannot wait. I am anticipating it.
Okay. This is the story of the butcher, the thief, and the doctor. Edinburgh's body snatchers, Burke and Hare.
I don't know if I know this one.
Oh, buckle up.
I'm ready.
It was a bitterly cold night in November 1827 when a man named William Hare faced an unusual dilemma. One of his lodgers, an ex-soldier named Donald, had just died. Cause of death was dropsy. Timing, terrible.
What is dropsy?
Dropsy is kind of like edema.
Okay.
So like
swelling?
It's like swelling, but you can push your finger all the way through the skin and he died from that.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's real gross. Don't look it up. I did.
I had to ask. I never even heard of that before.
Yep, I looked it up. You see, Donald owed Hare £4 in unpaid rent, what would be nearly £300 today. But with Donald's inconvenient death, how could Hare ever get the money to get that rent paid? Well, he did what any desperate, cold-hearted man might do. He called his friend, William Burke. William Burke and William Hare were originally from the north of Ireland and came across to Scotland. The two men met in Tanner's Close. Hare was running a boarding house there, and the two men struck up a friendship. And these two men turned murder into a business model and shook Edinburgh to its very bones. Pun intended.
I'm buckled because this sounds like it's going to be a ride.
Edinburgh was in the 1820s, and it was a strange paradox, a city of intellect and a city filled with the macabre. It was the leading hub for the study of medicine. Anatomy students needed bodies for dissections, and surgeons, men like the famed Professor Alexander Monroe and Dr. Robert Knox, were willing to pay good money for fresh corpses. £10 for a body in the winter and $7 in the summer because the rate of decomposition was so much faster. That's hundreds of modern pounds for a cadaver. And where there's money to be made, crime is not far behind. Grave robbers, resurrection men, as they called them, became a fixture of the city's underworld. It got so bad that people were paying to have a heavy slab put over their grave for days. They also would pay someone to watch it, or even put a mort safe or graveyard cage over where they were buried. And I'm going to post a picture of one on our Instagram page so you can see what that looks like, but it literally looks like a cage that sat over top of a grave so that the grave robbers couldn't go in and get you. But Burke
That is insane that they had to do something like that.
Oh, it's crazy. You would pay to rent a giant slab and they would lay it over because it was too heavy for them to lift. It was a lot. But Burke and Hare,
I can only imagine.
But Burke and Hare, they weren't about to dig up graves. They found it easier to make their own. Their first sale was Donald, the dead lodger. Hare was going to get that money back one way or another. Under the cover of darkness, Burke and Hare carried the body to
Edinburgh
University, hoping to find Dr. Monroe's assistant. They instead were directed to Surgeon Square and straight to Dr. Robert Knox. Knox offered £7 10 shillings for the body, almost $600 today. And when the transaction was complete, one of Knox's assistants made a chilling comment. Dr. Knox would be glad to see you again when you have another to dispose of. Like, why would you have another body to dispose of?
Right? Like he just has the access to bodies. Like, don't worry. Someone I know is going to die shortly. Let me bring you the body.
Well, it's unclear who died first by Burke and Hare's hands. Their memories were clouded by alcohol, and their police confessions were riddled with confusion. But we do know that the killings began in January 1828. The first known victim, a miller named Joseph, he had taken ill while lodging with the Hares. Margaret, Hare's wife, was worried that an infectious tenant would be bad for business. So Burke and Hare took action. They got Joseph drunk, Burke laid across his chest, and Hare suffocated him. It worked. Efficient, clean, no marks, and Knox paid a tidy £10 for the body. From then on, death was a commodity. Next, a traveling salesman with jaundice, then an old woman, then Abigail Simpson, a salt seller from Gilmerton. She was the first to be lured deliberately. Margaret Hare brought her in, poured her drinks, and left the rest to the men. £10, cash in hand, no questions asked. Knox marveled at the freshness of the corpses, but he never asked why. The victims / bodies kept coming. Mary Patterson, lured by Burke, killed after a night of drinking. Knox was so impressed by the pristine condition of her body that he pickled it in whiskey and kept it for 3 months before dissecting.
Oh no, that's repulsive.
A mother and daughter both murdered after the daughter came looking for her missing parent. Effie, the rag seller, a drunken woman rescued by Burke from a police escort, was taken not to safety, but to death. Then came a particularly horrifying night. An old woman and her grandson staying at the Hares' boarding house. First, the grandmother was smothered. Then the boy dragged from the hearth and killed upstairs in the same room as his grandma. That night, it gets worse. That night, the tea chest was too small, so they stuffed the bodies into a herring barrel and loaded it onto a cart. Hare's horse, and Autumn, this is a hard part. Hare's horse refused to pull, so he shot the animal in a rage.
No.
He was a horrific man, and he was described as hot-tempered and not nice to be around. They said he was crass and awful, every single thing that's written about him. But the killings continued. Annie McDougall, Burke's own relative, a washerwoman, another sick lodger, all ended the same way. But it was when there was a man that they called Daft Jamie who truly stirred fear. Jamie Wilson was mentally ill and well known in the streets of
Edinburgh.
Luring him to their home was one thing. Killing him was another, because he tried to fight back, but he lost. Some students recognized him as his body was brought in. He had a very distinct club foot, and he was just really well known in the town, so everybody knew of him. So a few students recognized him. And then, fearing being discovered, Knox removed his head and feet before dissection. That meant that you wouldn't be able to identify him by that club foot or his face. Which makes me think he for sure knew something was up, but he did not report it. Still, no one asked where these very fresh bodies came from until Margaret Docherty. Burke and Hare did what they usually did. They lured her in with drinks, but this time there were witnesses. Burke paid 2 lodgers, Anne and James Gray, to stay somewhere else for the night. While they were gone, Docherty was killed and hidden in a pile of straw beneath their bed. The next morning, Anne Gray tried to fetch her stockings, but Burke stopped her. Suspicious, the Grays searched the room when they were all alone, and they found her body. They ran to the police, but by the time the authorities had arrived, the corpse was gone. But Docherty's bloody clothes remained. Burke and his wife were arrested, and soon Hare and Margaret were arrested too. By this time, 16 people had been killed. Burke and Hare made over 150 pounds, which would be over $10,000 today. There's one problem, though. Yeah. There's one problem, though. Without physical evidence, it was nearly impossible to prove that Docherty had been murdered. The other victims had been long dissected by Knox, so there was nothing to go off of. But the Lord Advocate, Sir William Ray, had a strategy. He turned to Hare, remembering that he was a royal asshole and that he argued with Burke over their last killing. So they made a deal. If Hare would testify, he'd walk free. And he did. He confessed to it all. On Christmas Eve, 1828, Burke and his mistress, Helen McDougall, stood trial. Burke was convicted and Helen walked. Burke's sentence, death, followed by a public dissection. On January 28, 1829, 25,000 people gathered to watch him hang. Locals even rented out windows overlooking the scaffold, charging up to 20 shillings for a view. 4 days later, William Burke was dissected by none other than Dr. Monroe himself. There were so many people trying to get in to view the dissection of his body that they had to start making a line, and there was a huge fight that broke out, and the cops only got them to calm down because a professor came out and said that they could let people in 50 at a time to view the body. And in a final twist, the anatomist used Burke's own blood to write, "This is written with the blood of William Burke, who was hanged." Burke's skeleton remains on display at the Edinburgh Medical School to today, and his skin bound into a notebook.
What?
Yes, a notebook.
Oh, no.
They also made a death cast of his face, and you can still see those things if you go to the University of Edinburgh, and you can see it all on display. And I will be posting pictures on our Instagram page. Robert Knox was never charged, but he was disgraced. He died in obscurity. Helen McDougall and Margaret Hare disappeared. And William Hare, he was released in 1829, escorted to Dumfries in disguise, and abandoned on a road to England. From there, he vanished. Some say he was blinded in London. Others say that he fled to Ireland, but we may never know. What we do know is what came next. The Anatomy Act of 1832 changed everything. Unclaimed corpses could now be used legally for dissection. No more resurrection men. No more murdering for money. This provided doctors, anatomy lecturers, and medical students with greater access to dead bodies from prisons and workhouses. It also allowed the public to donate their bodies to medical science. This act effectively brought an end to the body snatchers trade, but damage had been done. Burke and Hare had shown the world just how cheaply a human life could be bought and sold. Since then, this story has inspired many books, plays, and a lot of movies. It is a gruesome legacy. So now I will end my case with this rhyme.
Okay, I can't wait. Okay.
Up the close and down the stair, butt and bend with Burke and Hare. Burke's the butcher, Hare's the thief, knocks the boy that buys the beef. My sources were Britannica, the BBC, the University of Edinburgh, National Geographic, and History UK.
I don't like that poem.
I hate that they called it beef.
I don't either. That's actually repulsive.
Yeah. But they are like very famous body snatchers. But they weren't really like grave robbers, because they were like, fuck that. I don't want to do grave robbing. If I kill people, I have fresh bodies.
Fresh.
And they pay more money. Because they pay more money for that. No decomp.
Fresh meat.
Fresh beef. Oh, I can't
cannot.
said it.
Erin, I am so disappointed.
I'm so sorry.
That poem was so repulsive.
Are you having steak for dinner?
Oh my God, actually I am. And the funny thing is I don't eat beef other than steak. And you don't eat beef at all. But
I don't at all.
It's really rare when I eat steak, and I'm having it tonight. Out of all the nights to have it, maybe I will tell Dustin we cannot have steak tonight.
Well,
that is
just
so
think
gross.
of Burke and Hare.
No, I do not want to. You're in trouble.
It was definitely
a warning there.
They killed 16 people and no one said anything. Come on now. Why would these same two guys, they went to the same doctor every time. So why would the doctor not be like, it seems odd that they keep finding fresh bodies?
Because the doctor was benefiting science.
He was totally in on it, I think.
Absolutely.
He totally knew. Especially when
he was a doctor. He was no dummy.
Well, Jamie Wilson, they say they recognized him. So he cut the feet and the head off before dissecting him.
I'm going to puke.
Well, that was so that he could cover up that, because people would recognize him. It's crazy, right?
I can't.
Wait till you see the like grave cages. You're going to be like, oh my God. And I'm going to include a picture of the skin bound book as well as the skeleton that is on display and the death mask of William Burke.
Normally I say, oh, I can't wait. But you know what? I can.
And then they did a live mask on Hare, so you can actually see their faces side by side.
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
No.
And he just got away with it. He got away, and they like talk about him being that he was more aggressive and way more mean than the other one. And Burke is the one that ended up being hanged and then dissected, ironically, in front of a whole medical school. Crazy, right?
Yes.
But there you go. That was my case for the week. So we will be posting this on our Instagram page and our TikTok, which is you do it.
M&M Pod.
So find us on TikTok. We're at Murder Not Murdering on Instagram, and we will have pictures from both of our cases, including where to report any information you might have about Wil.
Yes, please, please, please.
And make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about it. Leave a review. Leave us some comments. And until next time, watch your back. Trust your gut.
Don't become someone's beef.
Do not become someone's beef. For us.
My murderful friends.
My murderful friends. Where's the beef? Oh, no, Erin.
Oh, no, Erin. That's too much.
I can't. Okay, guys, on that note, thank you so much for listening. And we will be back again next week. We have new episodes every Monday.
Yes.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.